All right, guys. Well, we are live on Facebook, so we're going to get started. My name is Via Williams. I am the Director of Growth here at Ben Kinney Companies. We have 8 Keller Williams franchises in Washington State, and every single Wednesday at noon Pacific time, we do our Wednesday webinars. And the sole purpose of these webinars is to provide super real-time, tactical, actionable scripts, right? Really actionable tools and techniques for you and your business. So these aren't necessarily high level mindset stuff. This is like in the weeds real estate production stuff. So what we have done, we took a little break in June and we asked over 1,000 agents what their biggest struggles were and what all of you guys wanted to learn about and see right now. And it boiled down to really 4 major things. And one of the big things was getting listings. Almost every major metropolitan area, Sue's nodding, every major metropolitan area right now in the United States and probably all over the world is really low on inventory. And so agents who have traditionally maybe gotten their leads doing open houses, door knocking, all this stuff, we can't do that. So what we're going to do over the next 2 weeks is we're doing a series on how to get listings in phase 2. And I chose 2 different types of agents and 2 different types of market. Today we have Sue Adler, and I'm going to give you a great introduction on Sue in a moment. Next Wednesday, we've got Mike Perna. Mike Perna's team brought on almost 50 listings in the month of June in Detroit, Michigan. And by the way, in case you didn't know, Detroit's one of the hardest. Michigan had the strictest lockdown, I think, out of almost any state. So when they came out of it in phase 2, they brought on about 50 listings, but they've brought on over 290 so far year to date. So we're going to do the same thing with Mike next week, just a super different market, super different agent, very specific role plays, scripts, and we're going to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. Before I do that, just a couple little things. Please, if you're enjoying these Wednesday webinars, if you enjoy today, I have a favor for you. I have a personal favor. I'm on a webcast. I'm a podcast, can't talk. I'm on a podcast. I'm the co-host with Wendy Papasan, Sarah Reynolds, and Seychelle Van Poel. It's called Empire Building. So if you wouldn't mind taking a moment, take out your phones and go to that little purple symbol where your Apple podcasts are, or go to Spotify and search Empire Building and just click that subscribe button. That would make us so happy. I'm going to have Hattie drop the link to the recent episode. It is so good. It's called Say No to Say Yes. And Sue knows this well. It's an exercise that we go through when we have our dolls retreats, and we just had one. And so we kind of walk through how every time you say yes to something, you're really saying no to something else. So what should you be saying no to right now in order to live a purposeful life? The other thing I wanted to plug before we get on is Ben Kinney's amazing podcast. It's Win, Make, Give, and specifically his latest episode. First of all, I have to say, we drop our podcast every week. Ben has dropped about 5,001 podcasts. Like the guy drops podcasts, I swear to you, it's daily. I think he's on like his 60th one. So episode 59, I love, and it's called Advice for Your Younger Self. Highly recommend. As you're scooting around, listen to Empire Building, Say No to Say Yes, and then go over and listen to Ben's. It's really good episode.
And I can vouch for both. They're seriously amazing.
Thank you. Oh, thank you,
yeah.
Sue. I love that you said that. Last little bit of housekeeping, and then we're gonna get into Sue. You can watch our Wednesday webinars every single week. We live cast them on Facebook, so that's great. No problem. You can watch it. But if you want to participate and you want to ask our guest questions, you have to get on Zoom. So we're going to have Hattie drop the link for Mike Perna next week. in Zoom and on Facebook so that you guys can register for that, right? And for all of you today, if you're watching this right now on Facebook Live and you're watching it live, so that's right now, it's a little after noon Pacific time on Wednesday, and you want to ask Sue questions, I'll have Hattie drop the link you can get on right now, and you can ask Sue questions. But we don't monitor the Facebook. So I've had a couple people that have said, hey, you didn't answer my question. And that's just because we need you on Zoom, because we only have Zoom open. There might be a way to do that. I'm probably not going to learn it. So, oh my goodness, how excited am I to have Sue Adler here? Welcome. Amazing. So happy. And Sue, I know we know each other super well, like full disclosure, Sue's a very close friend. But Sue, I feel like I just want to give a really good intro so that everyone knows exactly, you know, you're not just my friend, you're like an amazing person to be on to talk about this. Is that okay?
That's fine. I'll just crawl under my desk as you do that.
I know it always makes Ben super uncomfortable. He tries to forbid me to introduce him, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. I am gonna introduce you. So you have to just smile and say thank you.
Thank you.
Sue has been the #1 real estate agent in New Jersey since 2012. And here's the deal: that gets tossed around a lot. What I want to share with you is I think it's one thing to be the #1 agent in the market for a year, maybe even 2, maybe even 3 years. But when you're the #1 in a market for 7, 8 years plus running, you are running an incredible business and you have an incredible book of business. I think that's someone you should listen to, right? So what's cool is that, you know, in the midst of just this horrifying pandemic, really, there's no other word for it, guys. You know, it's just been I don't know, there's many words actually for it, but horrifying came to mind. New Jersey's been hit really hard, you know, and it's really turned into one of the hardest hit states. So they're coming out of their phase 1 into their phase 1.5, 2, whatever you guys are calling it, where you're starting to, same with us. Yeah, I'm based in Seattle, Washington, for any of you who don't know, for any of you non-regulars. And so in phase 2, so Sue and her team have taken 65 listings so far year to date, and just hear me out, average list price of 1.1 million. This is a huge volume and book of business, and it's just really different from someone like Mike Perna, who's doing a really high unit count. So I wanted to get them both because, Sue, I think that what you do in New Jersey is so translatable to those of us in metropolitan markets that have, you know, these price points, really any average price point over 500. You know, anything you do is relevant to any price point, but it's especially important to those of us, certainly here in the Seattle and Puget Sound area. You have a really comparable business and market to ours, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about Sue as well is that I've watched her pivot kind of in real time. Like while this was happening, you know, we would talk on the phone or we would be in different meetings together on Zoom, and she would take an idea and I would literally watch her execute it within a week. And so I'm so excited to introduce Sue Adler. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hand Sue the microphone, so to speak, and then I'm just going to pepper in. And we might do some role plays together. Is that right, Sue?
Sure. You'll be my
Cool.
seller.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Well, thank you very much. And Sue Adler, how are you getting this many listings? Tell us everything.
Well, it's been challenging. I mean, for sure. But
Yeah.
I would say, first of all, it's not me specifically. We have a great team, and our team is totally focused on lead gen. I mean, that's really what it is. It's when we have a listing, we are marketing for buyers for our listings, and when we have buyers, we are marketing for listings for our buyers. So it's really as simple as that. We have 4 inside sales associates, and they each specialize. One will focus on our database, so they will call our hots, our nurtures, our watches, you know, depending upon how far out they are. Our past client database, which is a huge database that's been so helpful right now. And then we have another couple of ISAs that focus on making outbound calls, circle prospecting. So when we have a new listing, they're circle prospecting around that and making calls to the neighbors. When we have, when we just closed on a property or we had multiple offers on a property, they're calling those neighborhoods because we still have buyers looking in those neighborhoods. And we also know who all the other agents are who have buyers looking in that neighborhood. So we're constantly on the phones. And this is also, whenever we send out a neighborhood letter, we're sending out neighborhood letters. Whenever we have a buyer looking in a neighborhood, we send out letters specifically with what that buyer is looking for. So the seller, it's really important that the homeowner knows that it's not some BS letter that you're just sending out just to send out. I mean, you really want to have a specific buyer in mind for it. And then we follow up with the phone calls. Our ISA then will follow up with phone calls. So, you know, all the marketing in the world is awesome, but it's the phone calls that actually really convert to the appointments is what we found.
Okay, so Sue, I just wanted, that was a ton of gold. So we've got neighborhood letters.
Yep.
And those are just sold letters. Is that
neighborhood
correct?
letters are not just sold letters. The neighborhood letters are, we have a buyer who's looking in your neighborhood. And they're moving from family of four, moving from Brooklyn. They're, you know, whatever it is that they're specifically looking for. They like historic homes. They're, you know, they need 4 bedrooms. They love a big flat yard, whatever it is, in this price range. And we send it to specific neighborhoods that would work for them.
So you get really specific with their needs analysis so that it feels real. Do you ever include a picture on those?
Excuse me, what?
Have you ever included a picture, a photo of your clients on that?
I don't think we have in the neighborhood letter, but we do. Do we have we done that? I don't remember if we have or not. We might have, but I just don't remember if we have.
So I've done that before. I've literally gotten really specific and I've said, you know, here's a photo of them, and I got their permission for it.
Yeah.
So neighborhood letters with buyer needs, targeted postcard campaigns. Yeah. A lot of just listed and just sold circle prospecting phone calls.
Phone calls, postcards, exactly.
Phone calls and postcards. Okay, so let's stay on that for a second.
Okay, sure.
If your letter, if we just talked about your buyer needs letter, it gets really specific. It talks about what, you know, what they're looking for. Let's talk about those phone calls right now. Are they any different from before? Can you kind of run me through what a typical script might look like and say let's try it just listed circle prospecting right now.
Well, the just listed circle prospecting, are you aware that we just listed your neighbor's house at 123 Main Street? First of all, do you know anybody who wants to move into your neighborhood so you can pick your neighbor? And typically people will know of people that they want to move in, especially now coming out of the city. We're also getting a lot of move up buyers. So we just had a situation, there's a house in Summit, and we ended up having 3 local buyers in the neighborhood who were looking for a larger house, and they came in to look at it also. So, so that's the kind of thing. So we are getting a lot of activity from those. Then we ask, would you like to know what it sells for once we close on it? Do you know of anybody? And then after we do go under contract, we get back in touch with that person and we say, hey, look, we just went under contract. We have multiple offers on this house. Do you know we have other buyers still looking. Do you know of anybody else who's thinking of selling? So obviously we want to see if they're interested in selling too. And then we get into more about the market. People ask us questions all the time. You know, early on, we were getting the questions more about COVID. You know, is it safe to do that? You're really selling houses. Now everybody's sort of jumping on the bandwagon. They see what's going on. We're in phase 2 of this, and people see what's going on, and people are now being opportunistic. So they want to know, you know, so what could I get for my house right now? So if we could sell your home safely and get you more than you thought you could get, I mean, at a number that you're happy with, would you sell now? And you know, people are having those kind of discussions because it's, for a lot of people, it's an opportunistic move, and other people have motivation to move. So you really, as an agent, you have to make sure you're not wasting your time with this too, because it's very easy to just waste your time on people who say, sure, I'll sell my house. And then the bottom line is they're really not interested in selling their house. So you have to kind of be careful with that, and you have to really qualify their motivation level. I think that's a really important point to make here.
I think that's a great point, Sue, and
Yeah.
so, so important.
Yeah.
And so you're getting results from these. So what I'm hearing you say is all of these phone calls that we just talked about, you're getting actual appointments, actual listings from those.
We're getting a lot of appointments, and we're also staying top of mind because people start to call us, hey, just keep us in mind. Who else do you know? Don't end any phone call without asking, who else should I be speaking with? That's a really important point, because they're not going to, we want to train people to think of us, to keep us as top of mind for them.
Yeah.
And that's really, most of our business is still from our past clients. And we've really, when you do a great job for people, they want to sing your praises. They want to tell all their friends about you, but you have to keep reminding people to do that, because people go on with their lives and they forget. But then when you remind them, they're actually really happy to do it because they had a good experience.
Yeah, that's so true. So we've got a ton of questions coming in already, which I expected today. So what kind of questions, how are you guys qualifying motivation right now?
I think the question is, if we could sell your home safely, if we could, it's funny, I'm not the one who makes those initial calls.
That's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I need my ISA on this call. If we could get you talked, I mean, we are selling homes now for more than our sellers are expecting. So if we could sell your home for a number that you're happy with and do it safely for you, would you be interested in selling your home right now? And people start, it's either a yes or a no, or I have to think about it. I have to talk to my husband.
Yeah, totally get that. Yeah. So that's a great question. And how are you getting the phone numbers to make all these calls?
We have our lists. I don't know how we have our lists, but
probably Cold Directory. Cold Directory is a really good source.
That's Scott's department.
There's a lot of really good sources. I can't remember who asked that, but there's a ton of good sources to get phone numbers, so you can find them.
Yeah, we use Mojo. So we have a lot of our calling database in Mojo. Yeah, but I don't know where it all comes from.
And then there's one more. Oh, John Sinclair. Hi, John. John asked, these buyers. So you're getting buyers and you're getting them to move up. He's saying, are you able to flip to get the listing side of that too?
Oh yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And certainly part of the qualification is making sure they can buy a house without selling their house first, because there's no way you can put a home sale contingency in a contract in this market. So so much of this is educating people as to what's going on in the market. And I'll get into a lot of that too. I've got screen shares.
I do want to get into all this, but a lot of these questions that are coming in are boiling down to motivation. And I do think we should spend another just a minute on this, because Sue, you and I both know if sales price is their number one motivation, that's probably not enough. So we always want to assess why they're selling. What are the reasons for them selling?
Right. That's exactly right. Where would you go? If you were to move, where would you go? Would you stay local? Would you be downsizing? Would you be renting? Would you be buying? What would you be doing? And these are conversations then that, we have to, it's a conversation. Sometimes people have no idea where they want to go, and that's what's holding them back. Well, they say, well, if I were to sell my house and I want to buy another house and there's nothing on the market, what do I do? So that's where we say, well, look, we just called you. We're extremely proactive. We don't just wait for houses to come on the market and get into a bidding war, where you're going to get into a bidding war. We are proactive. We'll send out letters on your behalf. We'll make phone calls on your behalf. And we've never had anybody homeless. So worst case scenario, you might have to rent if we don't find you a house to buy, and then you could take your time. How does that sound? Does that sound like something you could live with? So those are really just the questions.
Well, and I love that, Sue, because here's the bottom line. If someone says yes to that, they're motivated. I mean, that there,
exactly.
If someone's like, great, like if they're willing to go forward and they don't have a place to live, then they're motivated to sell. you know, so, I mean, that answers that. All right, so we've got neighborhood letters, we've got circle prospecting, just listed and just sold circle prospecting, on-demand virtual open houses you're
Yes,
doing, right? How are
yes.
those? Tell us about those.
They have been, so it's so interesting. We are getting more real contact information and more real buyers that want to work with us specifically than we were at regular open houses.
What?
I am not
Says
joking.
no one ever except for
I
you.
am not
Okay,
joking. So we
tell
had,
us everything
okay, so
immediately.
I'll give you an example. And I wasn't even aware of it until yesterday when I actually went in and dove into this data yesterday. So I'm working on getting a price reduction on one of my listings, because if it's not selling in this market and you're showing them all the data and they're looking at it online, it's absolutely price. And sometimes people in this market say, well, if I want to try it here, and this is where the motivation part comes in as well. I know these people want to move. So it's like, okay, we'll try it here for 3 weeks. If it doesn't sell, we will reduce to this number. And that's kind of where we were. And so we were on a Zoom call yesterday, and I'm showing them all the data. And I showed them our marketing report. So they had all that data. Then I went on to show them the on-demand signups. And I looked at actually all of that. We had 36 on-demand registrations from that.
Wow.
36 just from, so we also had, by the way, so we also had 2 public open houses in person on that house, and we only had 2 people show up. So, and then those 2 people were not really qualified buyers, but the people who were actually looking at it on demand, we're basically doing these digital showcases now. So it becomes this vetting process. The buyers are vetting the listings. So they're only actually setting up appointments in person when the house works for them. You know, when the floor plan works for them, they've done, and I'll show you examples of what we're doing, like with the Matterport walkthrough, we're doing video on every listing, ton of photos. So I'll show you all that. But then we're also vetting out the buyers. So like an open house, anybody walks in the door, but we're vetting out the buyers so that only the qualified buyers are walking through the door, because so many of our sellers are like, I don't want just anybody coming in my house right now. And it's also safer for the agents too. You know, this is still really real, this COVID thing. And a lot of people don't treat it that way, but we very much treat it that way. And so we are getting real qualified buyers through these houses now. We're getting multiple offers on all these listings without doing open houses. And we used to do open houses every weekend, first weekend.
Okay, so so you said these are Zoom. You're doing Zoom, essentially showings on demand?
So no. So we're doing an open house, like an agent on our team will walk through through Zoom with their phone, and basically the people, it's through Zoom, but they can answer questions. So people will type in their questions, they'll ask questions live, but then with Zoom you can save it. So then that becomes the on demand, and you still have to register through Zoom, and it now sits on our website. So every week we send out an email blast to our consumer database as well as the realtor database. And we basically have the link in there, view this virtual open house on demand. So before people set up an in-person appointment, we want to make sure they've seen it on demand, see if they had any questions, and then we do it in person. Now, does that happen all the time that way? If you're crazy busy and you don't have time, especially on the weekends when everybody's running around like crazy, they may not have checked everything online, and we might set up the appointment. I mean, that's sort of more of a depends as we're busy, you know, but obviously we're qualifying that buyer to make sure that they're qualified before we take them through.
Well, what I love about that is I've been interviewing a lot of agents doing virtual open houses right now, Sue, and here's what I love about that. When we do them live on Facebook, unless they comment, we have no way to track.
We don't do them on Facebook Live.
Yeah. So by doing them on Zoom, you're getting an ID, you're getting a registration. You at least have their email address. Are you requiring phone numbers when they register?
Yep.
Oh, that's
phone numbers
brilliant.
And email addresses.
Absolutely brilliant. That, you guys, that right there, I have been interviewing a ton of agents lately doing virtual opens. That is the highest level of success I've heard so far. Heads up.
You really, I mean, so everybody's going out and just starting to do regular public open houses again. We listed a house in Summit this past weekend that there were lines out the door, and we had it scheduled through showing time I think it was like every 20 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there were lines out the door for it. We did not have a public open house. These were all qualified buyers. We ended up with 7 offers, and it went way above asking price, and we would have had more offers. But then, I mean, it ended up doing amazing. It was really incredible, but we did not have a public open house. And in this kind of environment, to have a public open house in a really hot house the first weekend, think about this, like if you can we're only allowing, when we do have public open houses, we're only allowing 1 group through per floor. So you might have somebody on the first floor, somebody on the second floor, but there's going to be a line out the door, social distancing, which do they social distance or not? I don't know. And we're not vetting they could be neighbors just wanting to take up that time. Whereas the serious buyers then may not feel like waiting for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour to come in the house. So this is it's a process that just makes so much more sense. Now, the houses that have been sitting on the market and aren't selling right away, that's a different situation. We're doing some public open houses there if the seller wants that. So these, again, are all conversations that we have.
Well, that's great. And I can just share right now in the Seattle area, there are no public open houses whatsoever. And we are only allowed to have 3 people total in the house. And one of them has to be the agent. So really it's a couple at the most. So you're ahead of us. So Sue, you mentioned, so we've got neighborhood letters, we've got listing and solds and all of your circle prospecting. One of the themes I'm hearing is you take every single listing and you leverage it to get your 2 deals from that. Because I always say every listing should at least get us 2 more deals. And really what you're doing is you're just maximizing every listing to the nth degree. You're just 10xing it. You're saying, look, we're going to use this listing and we're going to call the neighborhood. We're going to do virtual opens and virtual showings. We're going to do, everything around that. But one of the things you're doing digitally is you're doing video campaigns. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we've been using viral marketing, but I also started doing a lot on my own. I think just getting information out there right now on what's going on in the market is just so important. So I've been just doing I'll either do a Facebook Live and then save it, or I would do it through Zoom and then have that go through Facebook Live, or I would do it through viral marketing and then just send it to the database. Either way, it's going to live on our website. It's going to live on YouTube, and we're doing a postcard campaign where we then have the link that goes to the video. Anytime I find myself repeating myself over and over and over again, and I learned this from Ben Kinney, put it on video, put it somewhere where you just don't have to keep saying the same thing over and over again. And then it sounds actually more authentic. So I did a how to price your home to be in it to win it video. And it's really a strategy for getting top dollar and pricing your home at a place where buyers are going to jump in and ask the question, well, how high do I need to go, versus overpricing it and then kind of being out of the market and then just doing this whole price reduction thing. So I get into the whole strategy in that video, and it's really powerful because that seller then doesn't feel like I'm beating them up. If they wanted to price it at a certain point and I wanted to price it lower, they totally get it. And they really understand that I'm not just saying this to them. This is just the strategy that works the best. And honestly, our average list to sell price ratio is 99.78%. So when you can show the data that backs what you're saying, that really shows a lot,
Yeah. Okay. So this is awesome, Sue. So let's move on to, we've done a lot of this prospecting, right? And now you're trying to close them for, I'm assuming, a Zoom appointment. Is that right?
Okay. So yes, what happens is usually what will happen is, if they're not quite ready, we have them register for our virtual, we're doing virtual, you were on one of these, our home selling workshops. So because it doesn't make sense to spend an hour or whatever it is on going through a whole listing consultation when somebody isn't ready. You're sort of ahead of yourself with that. But what they want to know is, well, what do I need to do to prepare my house for the market? Do I need to make repairs in advance? Should I be selling my house in as-is condition? So those are the kind of things where we can discuss all of that in the home selling workshop. So this again is we're checking motivation, and our ISAs also know that if somebody's not quite ready or they're just trying to get an understanding of what this all is, we have them come on our home selling workshop, and Lori and I are listing agents, and Lori and I will basically then follow up with conversations and do in-home consultations, or we'll do one-on-one Zoom calls and do a virtual walkthrough of their house with them. So they will have us on Zoom, walk us through with their phones. And it's great because then we can keep the recording of that as a reminder. You know, if we said, oh, you really should paint your kitchen cabinets, you're going to forget. You have all these conversations. I forget houses. So
Yeah, totally.
If I have that Zoom library of these houses, it's such a great reminder. So I know that it also helps me prepare for my next call with them. And it also, are you okay? It also helps me prepare for the pricing call with them. So we're not going to have the pricing conversation until right before they're ready to hit the market, because that's changing. You know, the market is fluid. So it's the reminder then of, okay, here we are. Now you have the staging, and now we can have that pricing conversation. So yeah, but yes, the first conversation, if it is either me or Lori doing it, would be sharing the screen on Zoom, and I can share some of the things that I would go through. Okay. All right. So share screen. Hold on one second.
Hey, while you're doing that, Ryan Gregg, she basically said she shares that registration link on everything, all of their postcard marketing, all their digital marketing, on their emails, on their social media.
It's also on the website.
And on the website.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my questions right now.
Okay,
Cheryl Smith, we'll go into the seller webinar a little bit. While Sue's sharing this, I just want to say one other thing too. I respect, and I don't want you guys to waste your time with sellers. I really don't. But for most of us here, we are in such low inventory environments. If we can get ourselves in the house to do a CMA, I'd be hard pressed to say no to that appointment. I think that you do need to be careful spending too much time doing that. But I think this is probably the market for you to get into more houses, not less. All right, Sue, it's all yours.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that everybody can use. I'm going to click on, this is showing time. If you guys use showing time for your showings, if you go to showingtime.com/impact-of-coronavirus, it's going to bring you to this screen, okay? Then you can click on your state. So I click on New Jersey, and nothing's happening.
Of course not. That's what happens when you're live.
Okay, that's really weird. I've never had that before. Maybe they think we're out of coronavirus now.
Yeah, it's all over. Bye.
I'll try it this way. I've never done it this way, but I'll try it this way. Oh, it's making me like register for this? This is just really weird.
So you click on New Jersey. It's okay. You click on New Jersey and it would tell you something that you need to see.
Hold on. Now I lost my whole screen. I lost my whole screen. I'm sorry. Of course, I'm Facebook Live on this. I can't even believe it.
It's probably on your second monitor.
But that's behind here. Exit full screen. No, it's not. Hold on. How do I?
You can unshare if you want, and then just reshare.
Yeah, let me just do that.
Okay.
Stop share. Let me just find this again. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're fine. We're getting such valuable information. We're just grateful you're here.
You're sweet. Okay. All right. So keep talking, and I'll find it.
Well, Hattie is going to put the link both on Facebook and she just did on Zoom, so you guys can also get on here and do it for your local state too. While you're doing that, should I see? We have had a ton of questions. Where can we see that seller pricing video? Probably on your website, I'm guessing. Tiana, that is exactly what it was. She needed to log in. Are you using a different computer, Sue?
No, I don't know why. I just logged out and went back on it and it's not here. So I just don't know what happened. Are you guys, well, you guys can do that though. If you go on to showing time impacted coronavirus, it's going to show you a graph like this. Can you see? I'll just
share your screen again. Yeah.
I'm just going to share this again.
Okay.
Share screen. Okay, so this just shows the United States in general, but you can zoom into your state and do this. But if you look at the orange, that's 2020, and you look at the black, it's pretty incredible how many showings.
Wow.
So basically, showings are up in the country 12% from the same time last year. And so in New Jersey, what you're seeing is this number is higher even. I mean,
crazy.
So when you show this, so what happened was, well, it's interesting how this came down to the same, which was probably around July 4th weekend. It was probably dead.
Oh yeah.
That weekend, and then it came back up. So that's one thing. And then you get into, okay, can you see this, my graph?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we have our market stats that we week over week with all of our towns. So these are the towns that we serve. And here's the active inventory. And we track it week over week and then year over year. So this is how many actives. And we are actually, so there's 1305. So there's 1305 in 2019. And so we're basically down 16% in inventory year over year. Now, a couple of weeks ago, this was about 35%.
Wow.
So you can see it's starting to catch up now. And then when you look at it per town, I mean, just to give you an example, so Summit was 134. You can see it goes down, and then now it's 102. So inventory is down 23% in Summit. Okay. Now, if you look at the under contracts each week, and when you show this to a seller, I share this screen with homeowners so they can really get a sense for what's going on here. If you look at the under contracts, it's still down 6.9%, but that's because, don't forget, there was that big dip where we weren't showing houses.
There's no inventory, of course.
Right.
Pendings are down when there's
week
no
over week. Look at the same time last year, this week. It's up, from 118 to 99. This is the one that's like, some of these are really high.
So let me just go back a little bit for all of you guys watching. Why is it, do you guys know why Sue would track these by the week? Do you know why that's important to start doing that? If you're not doing that already, it's okay. It's okay. Start this week. The reason is that when we get stats from our MLS or really anywhere, it's a month. It's by the month.
Yep.
You can never go back and get them by the week, right? Unless you're tracking them manually by the week. So we'll have Seychelle Van Poel back on. Seychelle Van Poel has been doing this now for, have you seen hers, Sue?
No.
She's been doing it for 7 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She is at a point now where the minute something drops, she is like a month ahead of her entire market and knowing what it is, because she's doing exactly what Sue's doing. And so we can have her come on. I got so many views and requests for that one. We can have her come on and kind of walk you through how she's doing it. And what I don't want is for you guys to get discouraged that you don't have this. It's not a problem. But what I do want is for you to start like today doing this, or this week doing this. Right.
Yeah, and it's also important to break it out by town, which we have, you look at the bottom here, by town and then by price range. So if we look at the actives in Summit, they're by price range. This is what's interesting, because our high-end market had been pretty dead Last year, there were about 20 houses on the market in the over 2 million range. So the actives have not changed that much. It's down, it's 18 now. But if you look at, actually look at the million to 1.5 range, which is a very hot market right now. And there's such a demand in this price range. So we're down 47%. That's what we're seeing. This is where we're seeing the most bidding wars in this price range. So you're gonna know this because you're seeing the bidding wars in certain price ranges, but when you have this data to back it, it's like really telling a story. So the data basically backs what we already know, but showing that to a client, it really just makes you look like the market expert, and you know, it's not, it's no longer I think this. This is what we see here. It's no longer opinion.
Yeah, this is great. I use trend graphics for any of you guys in our market centers or around the country that have trend graphics, and I do something really similar, Sue. The bottom line is we both start out the conversation with data. That's the bottom line, right? All right. So then after we go through this, what's
okay? So then the under contracts, the same thing, broken out by price range. If you look at this, you know, there's only 0, 1 going under contract each week. That's not a lot, and people always have this impression that it's going to be more. But now look at this. So 2, 4, 33%. So I mean, we're up 33% here, 33% here. This is a big deal. Like to have 3 in the over 2 million range going under contract is a big deal in 1 week around here.
Yeah.
You didn't see that anywhere. I mean, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. So that's what we're seeing in our high end. It's something similar in Short Hills. You know, the actives, you see inventories way down, especially look at this in the 1.5 to 2 range. And then, you know, when you could show this, it's pretty powerful.
So what I'm seeing is that Sue has her stats and she knows how to present them, right? And she knows how to have a data-driven conversation. So Sue, if we were going to role play just a super brief version, you know, it's like a summary version, and I'm a seller and I'm talking to you, we're on Zoom right now. Why don't you switch over to that and walk me through a little bit what that would look like in role play?
Well, I mean, I basically just kind of walk through.
It's exactly how you just did it.
Yeah, I mean, I basically show them. Then after that, I will dive into, I dive in more specifically to, you know, what's going on in their specific markets. Then, you know, so we have that kind of pricing conversation, and then I show them sort of where things are selling, like I showed them the comps in there. I showed them the comps online too, and I showed them the range of where things are selling, and then really want to get a sense for where their head is. Where if they're motivated to sell, it's an easy conversation. If they're only motivated to sell if they got a certain price, I kind of want them to self-discover where the pricing is. I think that's a really important thing. Put your buyer hat on as we're walking through these comps, and so, you know, how would you compare your house to this house? And the actives that are sitting on the market, we're really only looking at those if they're brand new on the market, you know, or if they're sitting there, we have to factor in a price reduction on those because those aren't really, that number's not real for that house.
That's right.
So let's look at the ones that are under contract and see where do you fit in here. And well, we don't know the sale prices on those. That's okay because they sold with this listing price, and let the market drive it to where, let the market drive it because it will. You know, the buyers made offers on these houses. They didn't make offers on these other houses.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to really kind of drill in with the sellers, and they get it. They really do get it. Everybody wants bidding wars on their houses. So that
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Then we get into a lot of the marketing. And we talk about safety, so I can share this with you. Hold on. share. I don't know
See
why it's not showing my.
on the bottom. You see it
no,
on the
here we go.
bottom.
I can't. No,
Yeah.
no, it's not that. It was. I had to find the right. So,
Oh.
so we have our home Sue Adler team's safe home selling process, and this is, we really explain that because everybody always wants to know, well, how can I show my house safely? And we talk about the digital showcasing, virtual and live or on-demand open houses, no touch showings, which I know we're all familiar with at this point, having the COVID forms signed, seller leaving the lights on. We're no longer cracking windows for ventilation because it's so hot in here now. And basically no kids allowed in the houses.
Yep. That's right.
So that's what we're doing.
So, you know, one of the great things you taught me that you did here, that it's the best thing ever. It's if you have something you do, name it.
Name it. Yes.
Yeah. So you call it your safe home selling process.
Yes, it used to be the was showing. I say home. What was it called? Virtual home showing process during phase 1. But then everybody got confused as we entered into phase 2 because they thought, well, are you only doing virtual? Or are you not doing in-person showings? So we had to change the name, but it's basically the same process pretty much, except now we can add on the in-person. Okay.
Cool.
Can you see? Oh, I want to show you something else. Can you see this?
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a Facebook post that we put on yesterday, and we do Matchmaker Mondays. So this is Abby on my team, and just like we do the neighborhood letters, I forgot to tell you this part. We do Matchmaker Mondays, and who do you know for this buyer? Tell me if you can hear this. It's not working on my.
Click that little speaker on the right, on the bottom right of the video. Click that right there. There you go.
They're willing to put in some work if it were to be like a kitchen, or the floor plan or layout is still something that they like. They're willing to do the work to make the house updated in the way they would want it. They love like special details, like, you know, great lighting fixtures, or, you know, pretty.
So this is like your neighborhood buyer letters only in video.
So we're doing
perfect.
Matchmaker Mondays, and I got 2 calls from, and I got 2 calls from people on this today. So we're and you know, more, I would say a lot of them are curiosity calls. You know, well, what do you think I could get for my house right now? And so it's a lot of that going on. It's a lot of that going on.
Perfect. See, I think right now, I totally get that you want everybody to protect their time, of course. But I think right now in this market with such low inventory, we probably want to spend the time talking to home sellers no matter what. And if we're ever going to go to people's houses, it's now. Yeah.
I mean, I go into houses really kind of as a last resort. I walk into houses.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I should have said, I'm so used to saying that, having a Zoom with a seller, having a
Zoom with
CMA or a listing conversation. Yeah.
It's the best thing ever, and they prefer it too. Now, look, I do a lot of high end, and you definitely need to walk into those houses.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Everybody wears their masks, and we're all very respectful. So I think I do think there's certain houses that we absolutely have to walk into. I personally have been really, really careful. And I think everybody really here has been. We're hit pretty hard in New Jersey. So I know other places people are more casual, but I think it's important to, it's going to come around, believe me.
So what we're seeing here is your website, I'm assuming.
Yes. So this is our new site. And I just want to show you, this is a house that we have where, so you can click on and click through with this, you know, with all this. But we talk about the digital showcase. This is what I wanted to show you. So we have the floor plan, okay? The interactive floor plans. Close, X out. The 3D walkthrough, which is the Matterport. You guys are all familiar with Matterport, right?
Yep.
We have a brochure, which they can download, and we leave a hard copy in the house. And we have full video on it now. So we're doing full video on our listings.
So I'm seeing drone. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the survey. But the other thing actually that I want to show you is, this is blocking this. Yes. Okay. So this is the one we had the line out the door the other day with the multiple offers yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
And I want to show you, this is something, letter to future buyer. Now, you know, on Zillow, they have what I love about my home. Okay. On Zillow.
Yeah.
So we started to get our sellers to write the letter to their future buyer. And you know how buyers will write a letter when they want a house as part of their offer, and you telling about their family and what they love. Well, this seller, this is an example, they wrote a letter about, you know, house hunting in the fall of 2001. I was pregnant with twins. We wanted to move back to Summit from Park Slope, Brooklyn. Sense of community, blah, 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 about their house. And it's the kind of thing that pulls on a buyer's heartstrings, just like when the buyer writes that letter, accepted, that pulls on the seller's heartstrings.
You know what I love about that, Sue? I feel like during negotiation, if you can humanize someone up front,
yes.
I bet you they don't beat them up quite as much. That is brilliant.
Yes. And
so good.
And so what's interesting is when the letters came in with the multiple offers on this house, this was just honestly last night, they were all of the letters that came in mentioned the letter that the sellers had written. So they all saw it.
Amazing.
So I just thought that was very interesting. It's something newer that we just started doing. And, you know, all the marketing, like we're doing the marketing, but it's the stories, there has to be that connection, you know?
Yeah.
And these letters really are making that connection, and it doesn't feel like selling, you know, quote, air quotes, selling.
And one of the cool things you do, Sue, with all of your listings too, is that you give your listings a brand. Instead of focusing on the Sue Adler brand, what you do every time you take a listing is you that letter is a good example. You sort of brand the house, don't you?
Yes,
you,
exactly.
yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, you know what I always say. It's not about our brand. It's about creating a brand for our listings.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to get you to say for everyone else.
Yeah.
I know what you always say, but they don't know what you always say.
I know. That's right. That's right. They don't know me.
Hey, Sue, could you show us one of those videos like you mentioned, like, you know, your how to price a home, the one you mentioned at the beginning, you know, one of those?
Yeah.
Just to give us an idea of what those look like.
I have a couple pulled up. Let me just see what.
Oh, I love that. Glenda Diaz called it selling a feeling. It's really true. People buy an emotion, Glenda. Really, really good. I like that.
Hold on. Let me just find my YouTube page. So if you guys want to go on.
Sue Adler here, and today.
Hold on a second.
Two Sues.
I have to find my share button here. Share screen. We got it. Okay, do you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, that's my awesome team. Yay, team. Okay, so here's our video library. So I think it's SueAdler.tv. I'm not sure. It used to be.
We can have Patty find that. So
I'm not sure if that is or not.
Okay.
I just found that we had 2 YouTube channels, and I didn't realize that. One was all of our listings, and we're now switching everything over because it's like, why do we have 2 channels? That makes no sense if we're switching all that over. So here's one. Okay, so this was predictions. And I did this one.
They're going to be our new buyers of tomorrow.
I sound so, it's so funny.
Same background.
So I hate the way I sound in this.
It's so hard to hear yourself, but you sound great.
It shift dramatically as a result of COVID-19. Density living in close.
Well, you look really good, Sue. That's what matters.
Become less desirable, and demand for close-in suburban housing such as ours will explode. So think Maplewood, South Orange, Millbrook.
Okay.
You got it, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We
So
have
that's
the idea.
one example.
Okay.
Then we have, the market update that I did. Okay,
Oh,
so
perfect.
I showed this for you guys, right? Whoops, sorry, that's a community video. I don't know what just happened here, but what I just did, I went on, shared my screen.
And today I am going to share with you what is going on in our local market.
So, okay.
Okay, so you get the idea there.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then, oh, here's one. Okay, so I'm going to show this. This is a seller that we had sold to during COVID. So, because people want to know, well, what is the experience like? So I did it. I just said, let's do a Zoom interview. So this guy, Ryan, said, okay, sure.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sue?
Good, thanks. Today, I would just like to ask you a couple of questions and interview you about your experience working with the team.
Oh, this is great, Sue. Really good.
Like that in the middle of this whole COVID thing. So, first of all, what made you contact our team?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it all started.
I love this as an alternative to just the canned video testimonial.
Wanted to, meet a lot of different agents in the market. So we met.
And this is all on your YouTube channel?
It's on YouTube. This is long. I mean, it's 9 minutes. He gets into a lot of detail.
Your strategy was actually totally different than everybody else's.
So you get the idea.
Everybody's strategy was similar. Everybody we met with, and you were the last person we met with, but totally different.
Okay, and then anyway, there's a bunch of, so you guys can scroll through whatever you want to do there. But it's reminding me I haven't done one in a couple of weeks. I need
That is so helpful, though. It's so helpful.
Yeah.
And Hattie's going to post the link in both Facebook and in Zoom. She's already done it in Zoom.
Okay.
So Sue, I
I'm
think
share.
my last question, because we're rounding the top of the hour. My last question is, lately, I know what the objection was early on, but lately, what are the big objections right now that you're hearing?
Well, people are worried that it's too late in the year, like, because now we're in July, and can we close it before the school year? And my answer is there's still demand. We're feeling the demand, and I'm not so sure that we're going back to school in September.
Yeah.
And also the people who are coming out from the city, they may not want to do school in September there, or they have babies, or whatever their situation is. People also, so our whole market is coming out from New York, and that's pretty much our whole market. So we're getting a lot of people now who are just, they just don't want to work. I think it's just going to continue, and we're going to get the second wave. I feel pretty certain of that. And when that happens, I think people aren't going to feel like they have to stay inside as much anymore. I think they're going to feel like they need to get out and come into the burbs more. There's a sense of urgency right now for people. People want to feel safe, and getting out of New York in our market, people just are flocking to the suburbs right now. That's not going to change. We are seeing a little bit of a lull with people putting their houses on the market because a lot of our sellers, their kids couldn't go to camp this year, so they were renting houses for the summer. So you're seeing a lot of people who are away for the summer, but but the buyers, there's way more buyers than there is inventory, and we need more inventory. So I think when people start, I think we're going to see some people who want to come in and rent until they find the right house so they can get out of the city.
Yeah.
We're seeing people walking away from their leases and just coming out here now and renting houses. So it's not going to end soon. I think that's the biggest concern people have. Or how do I get my house ready fast enough? Well, we have people who can help you make that happen. Whatever it is, we can overcome that kind of thing. Those are just logistics, honestly. We can overcome the logistics.
It's interesting, Sue, you're not alone. I was tracking the data here in the Northwest, so it's our tri-state region, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. And what we're starting to see now are views of rural and second home / retirement communities, traditionally retirement communities, have doubled in the last 60 to 90 days. So I think it's a little soon to call this an urban flight, but I think a lot of us are starting to anecdotally feel that. Only the statistics can really prove if we have an urban flight or not. But I agree with you. And the season has gone later. And so it's just explaining to people, hey, we just kind of got a 90-day halt. So what you used to see in April is now happening in July.
That's exactly
We're
right.
seeing the same thing.
We had our best under contract month ever in the entire Sue Adler team history in June.
Fantastic.
Ever. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And our August is going to probably be our best closing month ever in our history.
That's fantastic. So as we wrap this up, Sue, I guess one last question. We have a lot of agents that are watching and that are going to watch the replay. We have new agents and experienced agents, right? Mm-hmm. What is your mindset right now moving into the next 90 days? What is your mindset, and what is the one thing they can do to get more listings?
I mean, call your database, call your happy clients. They want to help you. They really, I mean, that's, you know, they want to help you. If you can spend the money on mailings are working. We're doing well with mailings right now. Facebook Lives are free. You know, that's the kind of stuff. Definitely do that. If you have a listing, do the Zoom virtual open houses, do whatever you can, you know, really just to get yourself out there, to be able to show what you're doing. You need to be top of mind. So whatever that is for you in your market. And just every day you have to do some lead generate. I mean, my entire job right now is I get very anxious when, I mean, it's awesome that the listings are selling so quickly, but I'm used to having more listings, and I get very antsy when I don't have enough listings, and that's how I'm feeling right now. So pay attention to that fire in your belly and just, you know, go with that. I mean, let that fuel you to really do something, because, you know, we don't know what's going to happen later. Everything is good right now. So take advantage of it all when it's good, because March and April, when you think back to March and April, I don't want to go back there. I don't want that kind of time. So we don't know what's in store for us. Take advantage of it now while it's good.
Yeah, really, really well said, Sue. And that's one of the things I always get out of you is you take one listing and you leverage it to the hilt. You essentially assault that one listing with every single one of your marketing channels that you do, and you 10x it, and that's how you get more listings, right? So
and that's
for
how
all
we
of you
get
watching,
a great price for our sellers. So that's really the, you know, I mean, the intent is always just to get the great price for the sellers. But when you do that, that's also how you get more listings, because then you have that success story to share.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's important.
Yeah, so I think for all of you guys, you know, watching and listening and watching on replay, take that one listing. That is the best marketing and advertising tool you have, right? Take that listing and, you know, and go for it. Do as much lead gen as you can around that. Digital, don't forget snail mail right now. Everyone's at home, they're getting their mail, right? So, and then watch this like 5 times so that you can take amazing notes from Sue Adler. All of the resources we're going to put in on our Facebook pages where we're replaying it. We'd like you all to join the Ben Kinney Leadership Mentoring Group Facebook group. That's where we're going to put the replay of this. And we're going to do a watch party right now. And Sue Adler, you are amazing. Ben and I thank you so much for coming on today. We really do. And if anybody has any train line, you know, Summit, what are your other cities, Sue, for referrals?
Well, Maplewood, South Orange, Milburn, Short Hills, Summit, Chatham, Madison. It's basically the train line into Manhattan.
There you go.
There you go. The town's off the train line too, but
there you go. Yeah, give it to Sue, everybody. All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Have an awesome week, and we will see you next Wednesday with Michael Perna. So excited!
I love Michael Perna. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.